Part of the lies of corporate entertainment is the idea of canon. And it started to get so big with Disney doing it and Star Trek doing it that they want to lecture you what's real and what's not in the universe. Now, in Dungeons and Dragons specifically, this makes zero sense. There's no such thing as D&D canon. You can have a Forgotten Realms canon, you can have Dragonlance canon, but this does not make sense as a concept, and it drives me crazy that they are viewing it as such and that the media propagates this stuff. Now, the media propagates this stuff for one reason. This is the access media, right? And so the access media just shills for what the corporation does. This is the only real stuff. This is how it works now. And there's a new D&D lore book, which, of course, is just rewriting Baldur's Gate 3. And this new ending changes things, which they now call canon within D&D. Very bizarre right here. But I'm going to get into this whole concept of like why it's fake and why you should pay no attention to what these people say. And especially you should pay no attention to modern D&D lore books. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things D&D and more. This is your real fantasy and sci-fi news, and I appreciate you guys being here. My name's John Delarose. I am a sci-fi author myself. If you like my thoughts on canon, if you like my thoughts on storytelling and the like, you will enjoy my Valiant Frontiers trilogy. This is available on a crowdfund right now. It's a great way to support the channel. You get 3 ebooks for $15. That's $5 an ebook, right? And so that's what you get for things on Amazon. Really good deal right there. I also have like very specialty premium versions of my books, including a leatherbound of my original Arishan War trilogy, which is going to be absolutely stunning and beautiful. I showed those off on my comic channel. My last leatherbound book. I mean, you won't want to miss these because once they're gone, they're gone. Now, this is in the description below. Check it out. Thanks, guys. And thank you for getting us to 100 backers. Appreciate you and appreciate everybody who supports independent works because this is the only way to make like real stories that matter is support authors who actually follow their characters themselves. Now, that's the one thing about corporate entertainment. There's a zillion people involved. The original creators are not involved. And even at this point, you can make an argument that there was a canon, even if the original creators are gone, if it's people who worked with the original creators and understand their vision. You look at Star Trek, for example, with Star Trek The Next Generation, and of course, Roddenberry was involved with that. And then once he died, those people who worked on Next Generation were involved with Deep Space Nine. So once you get to Alex Kurtzman had no involvement with things whatsoever. But you see this right here. The current folk going, Star Trek fans are so far up their own asses. Discovery and Picard are not canon. JJ Films, okay, yeah, I'll give you a hate on that. I hate them too. Like it or not, all the new Star Trek is canon, and you're going to have to accept it. Or DS9, or TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise are not canon either. That's not true. And you do not have to accept it. You don't have to accept what the current year corporation says. In fact, I have my own canon for Star Trek. It's right here. This is called the Litverse, which is all the books that came out of Star Trek here. And of course, I love it. And you can see how many books there are for all these series. It's a maddening amount of stuff to get through. I've gone through the entire purple chart on the right. I've gone through about half of Deep Space Nine in yellow on the middle. And I've gone through about half of these crossovers too, and a couple others on the chart as well. But there's a lot to explore here. But this is the real canon, in my opinion, and I think it's way better than anything Kurtzman or whatever came up with. I'm just ignoring it. I mean, because it's just like those are like parodies of Star Trek. It's a joke. And Disney did much the same thing when they removed the Star Wars universe. This was the Star Wars extended universe books, which I read about half of these as well back when I was younger. And this is the good stuff right here. You have a whole Rebellion era, a New Republic era, a New Jedi Order era, and then a Legacy era that's 40 plus years after Star Wars: A New Hope. This is way better than The Last Skywalker. I don't accept that that's canon. That's nonsense. Disney ruined this beautiful, beautiful background right here and just decided to make a bunch of money off of things. So that's what D&D is now deciding to try to do as well. They're trying to get the media to say there's Dungeons and Dragons canon because 5th edition's failing. Let's look at it. It's just like all of this stuff, right? Disney Star Wars failed. Nobody cares about Star Wars anymore. Nobody's watching anymore. Kurtzman Star Trek failed. Nobody cares about that. Nobody's watching anymore. Disney Doctor Who failed. Disney MCU failed. So they create these canons in there so that you are forced to watch all the things that they say are the important things at the time. And it's a corporate way of just getting you buying the new product and getting excited for new product, right? It's called the consumer, right? And so that's exactly what they're doing now with Dungeons & Dragons. Now that Dungeons & Dragons 5.0 has been a dismal failure, and of course it's 5.5 really because it's the 24 edition, and nobody bought it. And because they just went completely woke, they just skin suited the game. They watered down the rules so that, like, you can't even like kill characters anymore, pretty much. And this is where we're at. And so now they're trying to latch on to the one thing that they have successful within D&D, which is Baldur's Gate as a series. The video game licensed properties are doing very, very well. That's where they're making most of their money. If Hasbro, if you've actually gone through their financials, you'll see that the licensing's where it's at. And that's what they said earlier this year. They're going to be focusing more with Dungeons and Dragons and the like as a property for their licensing opportunities, and not actually working so hard on what's going on within their own properties. And this is why they removed their whole online D&D system that they were building and they spent tons of money on for years, because they're just like, screw it, we'll just license it out to somebody. And this is why they're just struggling with the books at this point. So this is a concerted effort by Hasbro in conjunction with the media to force this, quote, canon on everybody. Now, why does this not make sense in the context of D&D specifically, right? D&D is something you make up in your heads. The original Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and the like were just things where it's like, okay, here's a bunch of setting ideas. You make your own. You homebrew your own stuff. You have your own canon. You have your own storylines. You have your own things of what happens here, right? But the lazy players, of course, come in and just go, okay, I'm going to play the Baldur's Gate campaign, right? And they just do this type of thing. And they're trying to cater more towards that, and they're trying to force everybody more in towards that and less into your own imaginations, because they don't want you in your own imaginations. Because if you have your own imaginations, you don't need anything other than the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook, right? And that's it. You don't even need the monster manual, because you can make up your own monsters. They don't want that. They want you buying every single product and getting it right here. So they're trying to now lean into the video games as this is the canon of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's the important stuff. This is the real stuff. Baldur's Gate is real Dungeons and Dragons. What you have, that's fan fiction, right? And this is, again, just a corporate ploy on this level. So this is what they're talking about, which is interesting, because when they establish this, quote, canon, they actually violate the lore of their own established lore, which is where we'll get into right here. So Baldur's Gate, of course, a range of possible finales, which means there's not canon, because you could have different endings, are possible for Karlach, your companion whose mechanical heart always seems to be on the brink of shutting down. Indeed, without interventions, players can watch Karlach tragically burn up her infernal engine and finally combust, or alternatively sacrifice herself and become the Mind Flayer. Another option, meanwhile, sees players convincing Karlach to depart Faerun and live with Avernus and hopes for more permanent cure, leaving the character's ultimate survival open to debate. Now fans think they finally have an answer for what happens next. Now, again, there's multiple endings here, right? So there's what happens next is kind of up to you. It's Dungeons and Dragons, right? If you wanted to play these characters and make a Dungeons and Dragons thing, you can make what happens next, right? But here's what they have. They have this new lore book that's coming out, this Timelines, you're progressing the year 1501, having Karlach in the city again, implies she gets her engine fixed in canon. And that's what they're saying right there, that this timeline that they're putting in this new reference manual, right, is something that is means that this officially happened. This is the official ending now. Nothing else is actually there. So here it is. The events of Baldur's Gate are in 1492. This dated events are presented in Forgotten Realms, Heroes of Faerun, and Forgotten Realms, Adventures of Faerun in 1501. So the post shares this, quote, official timeline, and that's what they have here. So they're trying to push this again, like, even though there's multiple endings, even though Dungeons and Dragons is something you kind of make up on your own, you have to, like, follow this canon that they're developing now so that you keep consuming the next product and keep going along. That's how they're tricking people into just maintaining interest in the current year Dungeons and Dragons when there really is no reason to remain interested. So I don't buy this whatsoever. This deal, if you're saying that, like, you know, Alex Kurtzman's canon, which, by the way, even in the Star Trek realm, there's been implications within it that it doesn't work. It's a contradictory thing. Like, the things that are happening in the Baldur's Gate versus 3 versus this sort of here are contradictory within it. So they're contradicting it, but they're saying this is canon now, so you buy it, right? The Kurtzman track's really, really bad, right? I mean, you've got the Gorn who showed up, who aren't supposed to even be there, and you're not supposed to know who they are, and it's like a major plot point of Strange New Worlds. Of course, Discovery is a disaster with what they did to the Klingons. Like, it doesn't make sense. You can't have that canon because it doesn't actually track with the rest of what's going on. Now, most of Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, pretty internally consistent. They messed that up a little bit with Enterprise, not all the way, but it is much closer than Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek was, and so you just don't have to accept it. You just have to say, you know what? No, this is the canon right here. These books actually tried to be internally consistent, and they had editors working on it and the authors working together to make sure it stayed so, and that's what made it great, and that's actually what made the Star Wars Extended Universe great as well. So get back to your D&D Extended Universe. Ignore what they're saying in current year Dungeons and Dragons. That's my advice to players everywhere. What do you think about this? Leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out Valiant Frontier. It's in the description below. The Canon actually is right here. 3 books. Funny enough. All right. Thank you guys for the support. We'll be back soon.